Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is all my thoughts, my speculations, and my opinions. The plea deal is finally over. Koberger has received 5 counts, 5 charges of unalivings and burglary. He wouldn't be allowed to appeal, although he can appeal, but he's waived those rights, so I think it's just a formal term, but wouldn't be successfully able to appeal because he gave up those rights. Today I'd like to talk about the plea deal. We had the family of the witnesses, the family of the victims, his final words about the loved ones. It was heartbreaking. May the 4 victims rest in peace. Condolence to their families. I wanted to talk about Alivia is speech, or more like psychological games I believe she was playing with BK. I thought it was quite unprofessional, unethical at the beginning. But when I listened to it for the second time, I really understood where she was coming from. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but the question she was asking him was questions I didn't expect. If you'll notice, she asked him about his own research, BK's own research, the survey that he put out in DeSales University in 2020 about ex-convicts, asking them research questions like, did you plan for these unalivings? How did you dress up? What did you take with you? What was your emotions like? Were you suffering of anxiety? So she played that on him. And then she started playing his snow vision on him. I didn't find that funny at all, because she ain't the judge, jury, or anyone of that levels to be, especially she ain't God to be judging him. We're not even sure of the evidence. They haven't laid out the evidence up to today. We've never seen the IGG work of the FBI. Did they use MyHeritage example? It's not every site that I love to use. Where are the 3 unidentified male DNAs inside and outside the house? Where is the 3 unidentified mixed DNAs that was found under Maddie's nails? Talking about Maddie's family were blessed, really classic, respectful, the way they spoke, the way they always speak. Felt sorry for biological father Ben too. But you could literally feel the emotions. I know everyone has a different way of grieving. It's been almost 3 years, time has gone. Life moves on. Life ain't going to stop for anyone. So I don't expect them to be bawling and crying out buckets of tears and all. That's not what I'm saying, but I can just imagine, God forbid, losing a child or losing someone close to you in such a brutal way. we always watch 48 hours and such things, and you will see there's that genuine emotion, even if it's gone 10 years down the line. But the G family made it all about themselves. They made it all about themselves. Alivia was saying, I was the ones my sisters looked up to. Maddie and Kaylee would call me for everything. I would go for fights for them, and I would do things for them. And that sounds like a very narcissistic person. Very narcissistic character. This ain't your day. Sit down. This is about the victims who lost their lives. They can't be here to speak for themselves. It's just something about the G family. I really feel sorry for them as a family. They're grieving. But it's just something about them that you feel like you wonder what is really going on. Because the other families are right on point. We heard the canoodles today. We heard Xana's father. You could hear and feel the emotions, the tears. I feel sorry for him. Imagine, as a single father raising those kids, raising Xana and her sister and her little brother by yourself, and you finally tried to do everything right. He wasn't privileged. So my heart pours out for all of the victims' family. But I just want to know why Steve G. It's like, I'm shocked with Steve G. Wasn't he the man who's always on the news lately saying that, oh no, it was Koberger who did it. He had a kill kit. Then he changed everything. From the beginning, he said there was a hell of a fight going on upstairs. He went and changed that. Now all of a sudden he said BK did it. Last week, the last 2 weeks, we've been hearing Steve G complaining and calling William Thompson, the prosecutor, names. But today, he was there literally, I don't know what word to use. He was literally being two-faced, saying, thank you, you did an extremely beautiful job, and I trusted you all from the very beginning. These are the people he's been talking crap about non-stop for the last 2 years. And why is he telling BK that nobody remembers you as your name? Even the mainstream news, the mainstream media calls you BK. No, it's social media calls him BK because we don't have enough place on our thumbnails. So we have to use names like BK and Idaho 4. Emily said, don't call them the Idaho 4. Call them, they should be remembered for who they are. Yes, they will always be remembered as Xana, rest in peace. Kaylee, may she rest in peace. Maddie, may she rest in peace. Anita, may rest in peace. They will be remembered for the names, definitely. But they will be called the Idaho 4 because they died in a group. They were the Idaho 4, Emily. As for Steve, don't tell us what to say. We will call him BK or we'll call him whatever we want to. We just want the truth and y'all are not giving us the truth. So basically trying to say all the frats that were running around that night was all just a lie. What Saeed was watching was all just my imaginations. Everything that was wrong was just a coincidence. Make it make sense. They looked like they were so busy to lock BK up in a cage and throw away the keys. There was no sympathy, there was no empathy to even do a mental health evaluation. I think they did a neurologist evaluation. Because yes, he suffers of snow vision. That is, not only an eye vision, it has something to do with the brain. He suffers of other neurologic conditions. I've heard personally many times the last 2.5 years that he suffers of a brain injury. And I found it very interesting to hear law and crime were talking about the therapy he's going to get, and they mentioned that he's going to get cognitive behavior therapy. I found that to be interesting, because that is exactly the branch that are working. So I think CBT would do wonders for anyone who has mental health illness. But for them to be mentioning CBT and mental health, that will make me believe he has some kind of mental health illness. But just because he suffers of some kind of mental health illness or autism spectrum disorder, that doesn't make him a person who unlives people. BK had no motives. There was no trace of DNA besides that touch DNA which could have appeared from anywhere. Let's not forget these people did not call the cops for 8 hours. That should say everything. Tell anyone about this case who doesn't know about this case, and just explain to them that the surviving roommates did not call the cops for 8 hours. Look at people's reaction. Their face drops automatically. They'll be like, do you mean 8 hours? And they were in the house? And they didn't leave?
Olivia Gonzalez, Kaylee's sister. Opportunity to speak today. My name is Olivia, and I am the big sister of Kaylee Gonzalez, and I was blessed to love Madison Mogan as a sister too. I'm not here today to speak in grief. I'm here to speak in truth. Because the truth is, my sister Kaylee and her best friend Maddie were not yours to take. They were not yours to study, to stalk, or to silence. They were two pieces of a whole, the perfect yin and yang. They are everything that you could never be. Loved, accepted, vibrant, accomplished, brave, and powerful. Because the truth about Kaylee and Maddie is they would have been kind to you. If you had approached them in their everyday lives, they would have given you directions, thanked you for the compliment, or awkwardly giggled to make your own words less uncomfortable for you. In a world that rejected you, they would have shown mercy. Because the truth is, I'm angry. Every day I'm angry. I'm left shouting at the inside of my own head everything I wish I could say to you. The truth about me is when I heard the news, I didn't cry. I listened for them. I promised them I would, that I would fight for them, that I would show up no matter what it cost me. I swore I'd never let them feel alone. Because you see, I've always been their heavyweight. I've always been the one to fight the battles they didn't feel ready to fight themselves. All it ever took was a call, and they knew I would handle it for them, no matter the time, no matter the cost. They could wave their white flag because they knew I would never back down, not for them, and not even death could change that. Somewhere along the line, I started to think about what I would say to them if I was given just one last chance. If I could gather enough heartbreak or love or sacrifice or whatever it took to get just one message across, what would I say? Throughout this entire process, I've written my feelings down at every moment, my wishes, my love, my denial, my anger. And as one final act of love, I'd planned to read these thoughts, even jarring and discombobulating and not even making sense. Because for me, that was true love. As bare and as naked as it could be, not laced in pretty words or dressed for the occasion, but written through bleary eyes at 2 a.m. with clenched fists, angry at this reality. My true final act of love was to continue on without them, for them. that dream to read aloud my love to them, to bring meaning through pain, was the latest blow in realizing you don't deserve it. And Kaylee and Maddie don't need it. Kaylee and Maddie have always known my love, and they would never ask me to prove it by further victimizing myself to a defendant who has shown no guilt, no remorse, no apprehension. They would say to me, "Why would you give the satisfaction of showing vulnerability now? You promised you would never back down." And for that clarity, I'm thankful. I won't stand here and give you what you want. I won't offer you tears. I won't offer you trembling. Disappointments like you thrive on pain, on fear, and on the illusion of power. And I won't feed your beast. Instead, I will call you what you are: sociopath, psychopath, murderer. I will ask the questions that reverberate violently in my own head, so loudly that I can't think straight most any day. Some of these might be familiar, so sit up straight when I talk to you. How was your life right before you murdered my sisters? Did you prepare for the crime before leaving your apartment? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling at this time. Why did you choose my sisters? Before making your move, did you approach my sisters? Detail what you were thinking and feeling. Before leaving their home, is there anything else you did? How does it feel to know the only thing you failed more miserably at than being a murderer is trying to be a rapper? Did you recently start shaving or manually pulling out your eyebrows? Why November 13th? Did you truly think your Amazon purchase was untraceable because you used a gift card? How do you find it enjoyable to stargaze with such a severe case of visual snow? Where is the murder weapon? The clothes you wore that night? What did you bring into the house with you? What was the second weapon you used on Kaylee? What were Kaylee's last words? Please describe in detail the level of anxiety you must have felt when you heard the Bearcat pull up to your family home on December 30th, 2022. Which do you regret more? Returning to the crime scene 5 hours later, or never, ever going back to Moscow, not even once, after stalking them there for months? If you were really smart, do you think you'd be here right now? What's it like needing this much attention just to feel real? You're terrified of being ordinary, aren't you? Do you feel anything at all? Or are you exactly what you always feared? Nothing. If you're so powerful, then why are you still hiding, defendant? You see, I'm here today as me. But who are you? Let's try to take off your mask and see. You didn't create devastation. You revealed it in yourself. And that darkness you carry, that emptiness, you'll sit with it long after this is over. That is your sentence. And it was written on the wall long before you ever pled guilty. You didn't win. You just exposed yourself as the coward you are. You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser who thought you were so much smarter than everybody else. Constantly scolding, turning your nose up to grammar mistakes, nitpicking and criticizing others. You wanted so badly to be different, to be special, to be better, to be deep, to be mysterious. You found yourself thinking you were better than everyone else, and you thought you could figure out the human psyche and see through it, all while tweaked out on heroin. Lurking in the shadows made you feel powerful because no one ever paid you any attention in the light. You thought you were exceptional, all because of a grade on a paper. You thought you were elite because your online IQ test from 2010 told you so. All of that effort just to seem important. It's desperate. There is a name for your condition, though. Your inflated ego just didn't allow you to see it. Wannabe. You act like no one could ever understand your mind, but the truth is you're basic. You're a textbook case of insecurity disguised as control. Your patterns are predictable. Your motives are shallow. You are not profound. You're pathetic. You aren't special or deep, not mysterious or exceptional. Don't ever get it twisted again. No one is scared of you today. No one is intimidated by you. No one is impressed by you. No one thinks that you are important. You orchestrated this like you thought you were God. Now look at you, begging a courtroom for scraps. You spent months preparing, and still all it took was my sister in a sheath. You work so hard to seem dangerous, but real control doesn't have to prove itself. The truth is, the scariest part about you is how painfully average you turned out to be. The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. Stupid, clumsy, slow, sloppy, weak, dirty. Let me be very clear. Don't ever try to convince yourself you mattered just because someone finally said your name out loud. I see through you. You want the truth? Here's the one you'll hate the most. If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your fucking ass. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want you all to pay close attention to what Alivia said. When she spoke about him entering Kaylee's room or Maddie's room, she asked, where are the knives? Where are the two separate weapons? She said. So, did Koberger use two separate weapons on all the victims, or did he use two separate weapons on only Kaylee? That is something we've never heard before.
Where is the murder weapon? The clothes you wore that night? What did you bring into the house with you? What was the second weapon you used on Kaylee?
What was the second weapon you used on Kaylee? And what was Kaylee's last words? May she rest in peace. Did you all hear that? What was the last words Kaylee used? And what was the second weapon you used on Kaylee? So, okay, if he used, allegedly, whoever did these crimes, used a knife, a K-bar, on all of the victims, that means this perp would have been running around with two weapons. Picture this, you're in a crime scene, you're one person, you suffer of snow vision, you suffer of ASD, autism spectrum disorder, you can't see properly in the dark. You go to a random house with 6 people in the house and a dog, 3 different floors. The house is crookedly built. You take all the chance, and then you go with 2 different weapons. Did he actually go with a kill kit like Steve Gongalves was trying to tell us? That was Jennifer, the former FBI agent, his words about the kill kit. So is he trying to, are they trying to still run around with that excuse that her father was running around with? Because if there was 2 separate weapons that was being used, I don't see one person using 2 separate weapons unless there was 2 separate or 3 separate suspects. That's why there was 3 unidentified male DNAs. As for her calling him She said, let me tell you something. You're a sociopath and you're a psychopath. Alivia, let me educate you with something in mental health. You can't be a sociopath and psychopath at the same time. Second thing, even the mainstream news channels, media, need to stop using the term psychopath. It's getting annoying. Ethical morals and mindfulness is really important in mental health. It is not called a psychopath. Antisocial person, as antisocial personality disorder is the right term. Psychopath sounds so unprofessional to hear, especially mainstream news channels. I'm talking about big-time reporters using the term psychopath so lightly. There are actually people who suffer of antisocial personality disorders. So that is discrimination. That is not a love. That term is actually from the 1960s and 50s. So they need to be adults and be careful of the terms they use. Alivia, don't use the word psychopath. Second thing, you're not a psychiatrist. You're not his therapist. You're not his counselor. You're not his psychologist. Mental health team, basically. So you can't be throwing out diagnosis, calling someone a sociopath and psychopath. Two different things. Antisocial personality disorder, you're born with it. It's genetic. It's a brain disorder. There's not much you can do about it. But sociopath is man-made. It has more to do with the environment. It has more to do with the lifestyle you lead. It has more to do with addiction, such things. They may seem the similar terms, and I've heard many people using it. But to start with, people don't use psychopath. Mindfulness is important. These are ethical moral things that they're not supposed to be using. And now I understand exactly what Ann Taylor meant by when she said if this child comes up to court, when they were preparing for the trial, she specifically asked that they do not use the term psychopath. Think about it. Already, Brian Koberg has been put up there, diagnosed there as though people are psychiatrists. And not every psychiatrist can, or people from the mental health team can diagnose him. It's people who've been working for him for years. They have to check his background, this is more about, it starts with child psychology. If he was a child and he was under mental health treatment, it should have been much easier to figure out, I'm sure. Everything is on gag order. It'll be interesting when they open the gag order to find out what he suffers of. He could suffer of anything. ASD, he could suffer personality disorders like antisocial personality disorder, or maybe just narcissistic personality disorder, or maybe bipolar. He could be suffering of schizophrenia, psychosis, anything, multi-personality disorder. But then it's not right for us to be throwing out terms there. And that is what Alivia is doing. But she was literally playing mind games with him, trying to play psychological games with him about the survey he conducted. But that is really wrong, because that survey, he conducted it under DCEL's university, and they gave him the green light. They gave him the go for him to conduct his research. So I don't think that it's right that they're using his education against him just because he was studying criminologist and because he was studying psychology. That doesn't mean that he will end up unaliving people. There's no motive, no target. That's the main thing. And that's why I believe Thompson gave up quickly. He knows if he goes to court, one jury member is enough. If their mind is tainted with, if they're struggling to understand why Like, just example, why didn't the surviving roommates call 911 for 8 hours? Why didn't BK or the suspects who did this, why didn't the unalive DM since she saw them? Come on, Mr. Thompson, we weren't born yesterday. You don't see anyone leaving a witness alive. Furthermore, two in this case. How come Bethany Funk never seems to speak? Today she got someone to speak for and read her statements. DM didn't bother to get anyone. DM is being protected for whatever reason. These 4 young students were unalived in the most horrific manner. We didn't just lose 4 young victims from the world that night. Add Caden Young, the 19-year-old boy who got OD'd by Emma, Bailey, and Demetrius. Add Hudson Lindo, may he rest in peace. And add Hannah Clay. Just hope we don't have to hear once again from Idaho, Moscow. Something tells me it won't be the last hearing about them. Unless they change after this case. BK looks like he's on some anti-depressants, some serious kind. Maybe some neurologist painkillers. He's taking it really easy. And he suffers of snow vision. Maybe he's on some medication. Maybe he sees double vision of them. May the victims rest in peace. Please like, share, and subscribe.